There is nothing you need to do now. The day is over, or nearly so, and it has been long enough, and you have carried it far enough. And here, at the end of it, there is only this: a quiet room, a little dark, and a voice coming to you softly, asking nothing of you at all. You can let the screen grow dim. You can set it aside or turn it away so that the light does not reach your eyes. There is nowhere to be. There is nothing left to finish. Whatever waited for you today has waited long enough, and it will keep until morning, and you do not need to think of it now. Let your shoulders come down from wherever they have been holding. Let the weight of your body settle into the bed beneath you, the way a stone settles into the bed of a slow river held and going nowhere, and perfectly content to stay. You do not have to listen closely. You do not have to follow every word. Let the sounds move around you and past you, gentle as water. And if your eyes are still open, you may let them close whenever they wish. They have done their work today. They have looked at so many things. Now they can rest. And your breathing, which has carried you through all the hours, can slow and soften and grow long and easy in and out, like the tide coming in and going out again on a warm and quiet shore. Tonight, I want to tell you something, and it is a small thing and a very old thing, and it is this: what you are doing right now, lying in the dark, letting a voice tell you something as you drift toward sleep, is perhaps the oldest thing our kind has ever done. Older than the houses we live in. Older than the words for most of the things we own. When you settle in at the end of the day to be told a story, you are not doing anything new or strange or modern. You are doing what people have done for as long as there have been people, on more evenings than anyone could ever count. It is a habit older than writing, older than farming, older than nearly everything we have ever built. The habit of ending the day by listening. That is what tonight is about. Not to keep you thinking, but to keep you company, the way a voice has kept a listener company since long before any of us were born. So there is nothing to hold on to here. You don't need to remember any of this. If you drift off before I am finished, that is exactly right, and it is exactly what has always happened, and I will tell you why a little later, softly, when you are further along toward sleep. For now, let it be enough to lie here, warm and safe and unhurried, while the world outside goes quiet and the day closes behind you like a door easing shut. We are going to travel back a little way together, you and I, back through the years, back before the years were counted, to the very oldest evening. But we will go slowly. There is no hurry at all. Let your eyes close if they haven't already. Let the day fall away, and let me carry the story for a while, so you do not have to carry anything. Come back with me now gently to a time before all of it, before the cities, before the roads, before the first word was ever set down on stone or clay or paper. Go back further than that, tens of thousands of years, further than the mind can easily hold, to a night much like this one, when the sun had gone down over hills that no longer have names, and the dark came in the way it always came, soft and complete. Picture a fire, a small fire, low and orange, tended with care, the only warmth and the only light in all that darkness. And around it, close together, a handful of people, your own kind, though so long ago. They have eaten what there was to eat. They have done what the day asked of them, and now, as the cold settles and the dark presses in beyond the ring of light, they draw near to the fire, and near to one another, shoulder to shoulder, the little ones tucked in among the older ones, everyone held inside that warm and flickering circle. Beyond it, the night is wide and full of things they cannot see. But here, inside the light, they are together, and they are safe, and that is enough. And then one voice rises. Someone begins to speak softly into the hush, and the others go still to listen. Maybe it is the oldest among them. Maybe it is the one who tells things best. And the story unwinds into the dark, and the faces around the fire glow warm in its light, eyes half closed, bodies leaning, the youngest already growing heavy and drowsy against a warm arm. This has happened. This is not a guess and not a dream. On so many nights, in so many places, this exact thing has happened, that if you tried to count those evenings, one for every fire, one for every gathered circle, you would run out of counting long before you were done. There have been more such nights than there are stars overhead, more than you could name in 100 lifetimes. The fire, the dark beyond it, the gathered bodies, the one voice telling, and the young ones drifting off before the ending, over and over and over across the whole long life of our kind. And here is the quiet wonder of it, the thing I want you to let settle over you as you lie here. That circle around the fire is older than almost everything we have ever made, older than the wheel, older than the pot and the plow, older than the written word by a very long way. Before we knew how to keep anything, we knew how to gather in the dark and listen to a voice. It is one of the very first things we learned to do together, and one of the last we have ever given up. You are inside that circle now. You cannot see it, but it is here. The fire is only a lamp or a screen gone dim, and the gathered bodies are only you, warm beneath your blanket, but the shape of the thing is exactly the same. A voice in the dark, a listener growing heavy. The oldest evening happening again, tonight, around you. There is nothing you need to do inside that circle but rest. Let your body sink a little deeper. Let the warmth of that long-ago fire reach across all those years and settle over you, soft as a blanket laid down by someone who loves you. You are held here. You always have been. And the voice goes on. Let me tell you how it worked in those long evenings before anything could be written down. It is a gentle thing to think about, and you do not need to hold on to it. Just let it drift by. For most of the time that people have been people, there was no way to keep a thing except to say it, no page to write it on, no shelf to set it upon. If something mattered, if it needed to last, there was only one way to keep it safe, and that was to speak it aloud and then to speak it again and again on night after night, until it lived not on any object, but inside the people themselves. Think of that for a moment. Everything a people knew, they carried in their voices. The way to find water in a dry season, the path over the hills, and which turning to take, and which to leave alone. The names of the plants, the ones that healed and the ones that harmed. The turning of the seasons, when the cold would come and when it would loosen, when the fish would run and when the birds would pass overhead. And woven all through it, the old stories, the great tales of how the world came to be, of the first people, of the animals who spoke, of the ones who came before. All of it, every bit, was held in memory and passed along by voice and given from the old ones into the young ones the same way in the evening by the fire. As the day let go and the dark came down, the elders were the keepers. They held the maps that were never drawn and the calendars that were never printed. And their task, their quiet and patient task, was to pour all of it slowly over many nights into the children gathered around them. Not all at once. There was no all at once. Just a little each evening, the same tales told again and again, worn smooth and familiar as a river stone, until the young ones knew them by heart without ever trying to. And here is the tender part, the part that will make you smile a little as you lie here. The children very often fell asleep before the end. Of course they did. They were warm and full and tired from the day, and the voice was low and even and kind, and the fire was soft, and sleep came for them the way it is coming for you now, gently, from the edges, inward, and that was all right. That was expected, because the story would be told again tomorrow, and the night after, and 100 nights after that. There was no last chance to hear it. There was only the long, patient turning of the telling, coming round again and again, so that whatever a child missed by drifting off, they would catch another evening and another until it was theirs. So you see, the drift toward sleep was there from the very beginning. It was built into the whole way of things. The story was never meant to keep you awake to the finish. It was meant to hold you and to teach you slowly over many nights, and to let you slip away whenever your body was ready. The falling asleep was not a failure of the story. It was part of the story, which means that if you feel yourself going now, loosening, sinking, letting the words blur soft at the edges, you are doing exactly what a child by that ancient fire did, and exactly what you were always meant to do. There is nothing to hold on to. Let it come. Have you ever wondered why it was the evening of all the times of day that became the time for stories? It is a soft thing to consider, and the answer is a gentle one. Think of how a day is shaped. In the morning there is doing. There is going out and gathering and making and mending all the small labors that fill the light. The day is for the hands and the feet, for the work that the sun makes possible. But then the sun lowers. The light thins and goes golden and then goes gray, and then it is gone. And the work goes with it. You cannot gather in the dark. You cannot make and mend by a fading light. So the hands come to rest, and the body slows, and everyone comes in from the wide day and draws close together in the small, warm circle of whatever light is left. And in that hour, when the doing is finished, and the light has gone, and there is nothing left to make, what remains is the voice. It is the one thing that still works in the dark. You cannot see a face across the fire, not clearly, but you can hear a voice, and a voice is enough. So the evening became the time of telling, not by anyone's decision, but simply because it was the shape the day took on its own. Story is what is left when the light goes out. Story is the natural form of nightfall, and there is something more, something quiet and lovely about it. The day is full of things that happen, one after another, scattered and loose, this and then that, and then the other. But a story gathers all of that up and gives it a shape. It takes the loose events of living and turns them into something with a beginning and a middle and an ending, something you can hold, something you can lie down inside of, the way you lie down inside your bed. At the end of a long day, the mind wants that. It wants the scattered things drawn together into one gentle shape so that it can let the rest go. That is part of why a story at nightfall soothes so deeply. It takes the day, which was many things, and folds it into one thing, and then sets it softly down. So when the light goes, and the body slows, and the voice becomes the one thing still moving in the dark, the story is simply the natural shape that the ending of a day wants to take. It is nightfall, made into something you can rest inside. And here is the thing that I find most tender of all, and I will hand it to you softly as you lie here, drifting. This did not happen in only one place. It was not the custom of one people, in one land, by one kind of fire. Everywhere that human beings have ever lived, they have done this. On every continent, in every kind of country, warm and cold, wet and dry, wherever people made their homes and raised their little ones, when the day was done and the dark came down, someone gathered the young ones close and told them something and let them drift off into sleep. Different fires, different words, different tales in 1,000,000 different tongues. But the same gentle shape everywhere, always, a voice and a listener, and the slow slide down into sleep. It is one of the very few things that every people who has ever lived has shared, and that is where we will go next. Softly in a little while, to the many places all around the wide world where this same quiet thing was done, each in its own warm way. But there is no hurry to get there. Stay here a moment longer, in the warmth, in the dark, with the voice still moving gently around you, and let yourself grow heavier and easier and closer to sleep. Now let us wander slowly and see how far this old habit reaches. Everywhere that people have lived, in every language, under every kind of sky, someone has leaned close to a child in the evening and told them a story, or sung them softly down into sleep. It is one of the oldest things we do, and one of the most gentle. And it belongs to no single people. It belongs to all of us. In the warm places and the cold places, along the coast and deep inland, the same small act over and over across all the years. A voice and a listener, and the coming dark. In West Africa, there are tellers called the griots, who carry whole histories inside them, the names of families and kings, and the shape of long ago. All of it kept alive not in books, but in the breath and the memory of a person, handed down from voice to voice like a warm coal, carried carefully between two hands. Far to the north, where the winters are long and the dark comes early, grandmothers have sat by the hearth and told tales while the snow settled outside, their words a small fire of their own. Along the old dusty roads of India and Persia, stories traveled with the travelers, told at inns and around evening fires, passed from one tongue to another, growing and changing as they went. And there are lullabies, softer than any tale, in languages that no living person speaks anymore. Tunes that were hummed over cradles a very long time ago, in words we could no longer understand, and yet you would know at once, hearing them, what they were for, because the tune itself would tell you. That falling, rocking sound that comes down and down like a hand smoothing a blanket. Every mother in every time seems to have found her way to nearly the same few notes, as if the sound of comfort were already there, waiting, and each of them only had to reach out and find it. Think of that for a moment, gently, without holding on too tight. In places that never met, that never traded a single word, people arrived at the very same thing, the teller and the told, the voice easing a small one into the night. Different words, different faces, different fires, and underneath all of it, the same quiet act repeating, like a heartbeat heard through the whole long body of the world. There is a comfort in that, isn't there? Not the comfort of the story itself, but the comfort of how many there have been. You're not doing anything strange tonight, lying here in the dark, letting a voice carry you toward sleep. You are doing the most ordinary thing there is. The oldest thing, a thing done tenderly by more people than anyone could ever count, in more nights than the stars could number. And so, in a way, you are not alone here at all. You are one of a great and gentle company spread across all the lands and all the years, all of them lying down as you are lying down now, all of them listening as you are listening, all of them being carried softly into the same kind dark. You don't need to remember their names. You never knew them. But they are there all the same, a warm crowd of quiet listeners keeping you company without a sound. There is nowhere to be. Let your breath go slow. The company is old, and the night is long enough for all of us. Let me tell you an old story now, softly, about a story. It comes from long ago, from the warm lands to the east, and it has been told so many times in so many places that no one quite remembers where it began. That is often the way with the best ones. They lose their edges and become something closer to a dream that many people had together. There was once a king, and the king was troubled in the way that people in old tales are troubled, and his heart had grown hard and sorrowful. And each night he would take a new bride, and each night in his sorrow he had grown cold to them. Do not worry about the sadness of it. It is very far away and very old, and we are only borrowing the shape of it, the gentle part, the part that matters for tonight. What matters is what happened next, when a clever and kind young woman named Scheherazade came into the story. She was a teller of tales, and she had read a great many books, and she carried 1,000 stories inside her like lamps waiting to be lit. And when her night came, she did a simple, wonderful thing. She began to tell the king a story of merchants and cities, of birds that spoke, and doors that opened onto wonders, of far seas and lamps and gardens. And she told it slowly and well, and the king, who had not been carried anywhere in a long time, felt himself begin to be carried. But here is the gentle trick of it. When the dawn came near, and the first pale light touched the edge of the window, she let the story stop. Not at the end, in the middle, at the very moment when you most want to know what happens next. She grew quiet and said softly that the rest would have to wait for the coming night. And so the king, wishing to hear how it went, let the morning come and let her stay, and waited for the dark again. And the next night she finished that tale and began another, and again, as the sky grew pale, she stopped right at the soft and open place where a story holds its breath. And so it went, night after night after night, one story opening inside another, like rooms opening onto rooms, each night a small unfinished thread reaching gently forward into the next, 1,000 nights and one more. The telling went on, and because the telling went on, so did she, carried safely from each dark into each morning by nothing more than a story well told. That is the deepest picture I know of what a story does in the night. It holds the dark at a gentle distance. It keeps us. It carries us from where we are through the long middle hours and out the far side into the light, and we hardly notice the crossing at all. The story is the bridge, and the voice is the lantern, and morning is waiting at the other end, sure as anything, whether we watch for it or not. You do not need to reach the end of anything tonight. That was never the point. Not for her, not for the king, not for you. The story is not here to be finished. It is here to keep you company across the dark, to be a warm thread in your hand as you drift, so that the night has a shape, and the shape has a voice, and the voice will carry you gently through. Let it. There is nowhere to be but here, and the morning knows the way. Now, why should a story soothe us so when the lamp goes out? Let us think about it slowly, the way you would turn a smooth stone over in your hand, without any hurry at all. And let me tell you first about the mind and what it tends to do when we leave it alone in the dark. You may know this feeling. The day is done, the room is quiet, and you lie down at last. And just then, when there is finally nothing to do, the mind wakes up and begins to wander. It goes to tomorrow, to the things not yet done, to the small list that is never quite finished. It goes back over the day that has passed, turning it over, replaying a word here, a moment there. It walks the same worn path, round and round, the way a creature paces a small circle in the grass until the grass is flat. There is nothing wrong with you when it does this. It is only what a mind does. When it is given a dark room and nothing to hold, the mind, you see, does not much like to be empty. It wants something to do, some path to walk, and if you give it none, it will make its own. And often the path it makes leads to worry, because worry feels like doing something, though it carries us nowhere at all. Round and round the same ground, wearing it thinner, while sleep waits just out of reach on the far side of all that circling. And this is where a story comes in, gentle as a hand slipped into yours in the dark. A story does not argue with a wandering mind. It does not tell it to stop, which never works anyway. It simply offers it somewhere else to go. Here, it says, walk this way instead. Here's a road and a doorway and a warm lit room at the end of it. Here is a path already laid, so you need not make your own. And the mind, which only wanted a path all along, takes it and goes and quietens. That is the quiet gift of it. You can hand your thoughts to the story the way you might hand a restless child a smooth toy to hold. All the circling, all the tomorrow, all the undone things, you can set them gently down and let the story carry them for a while. It will hold them for you. You do not have to. There is nothing you need to solve tonight, nothing you need to finish, nothing you need to decide in the dark. The story asks nothing of you but that you follow it loosely, the way you follow a slow river with your eyes, not swimming, just watching it go. And if your mind drifts off the path, that is quite all right too. Let it. You can leave the story and come back and leave again, and it will not mind, and it will still be there. It is a patient thing. It holds no threat against you. Wherever you wander, it waits, and it takes you up again the moment you return, and it never once asks where you have been. So let your thoughts grow soft now, and loose, and easy. You do not need to chase them, and you do not need to catch them. Let them settle onto the path the story lays down, and let the path do the walking. There is nowhere to be. Let your eyes close, if they have not already. The circling can stop now. Something else is carrying you. And there is one more thing a story gives us in the dark that is worth resting on softly before we go on. It is a small thing and an old thing, and it is this. A story has a shape. It has a beginning and a middle and an end. And the mind, lying quiet in the night, finds a great and gentle comfort in that shape, more than we might guess. Think of how much of a day has no shape at all. The day opens and things happen, one after another, and much of it is left unfinished when we lie down. The conversation that trailed off, the task set aside for tomorrow, the worry with no clear end that just goes on with no edge to it, no place where it resolves and lets us go. So much of living is like that. Loose threads, open doors, things that do not arrive anywhere, at least not yet, at least not tonight. But a story is not like that. A story promises to arrive. From the very first words, though you may not think of it, Some quiet part of you knows that this thing has an end, and that the end will come, and that everything opened will in its own time be gently closed. The road leads somewhere. The door opens onto a room. What begins will finish. And that promise, that certainty of form, is a deeply restful thing to lie down inside of. A shape with edges is a safe place to rest. The nervous system, that watchful old friend that keeps a small light burning even as we sleep, feels those edges and understands that here, at least, all will be well, and lets the light burn lower. You do not even need to reach the ending yourself. This is the loveliest part. You can trust that it is there, waiting, a warm room at the end of the hall, without ever walking all the way to it tonight. In fact, you almost certainly will not. You will drift off somewhere in the middle, in the soft heart of the tale, long before the last words, and that is not a failure. That is exactly as it should be. You are meant to fall asleep before the end. The end will keep. It is patient, like the story that holds it. It will still be there, resolved and quiet, whether you arrive or not. So you can let go of the ending the way you let go of everything else tonight. You do not have to see how it turns out. You do not have to hold on to the thread. You can trust the shape and rest inside it and let the story go on carrying its own weight all the way to a close you will never need to reach. There is somewhere for all of this to arrive. That is enough. You can lie down in that certainty as you would lie down in a made bed, cool and smooth and turned back for you, and simply let yourself be held. And now, gently, feel how you are already beginning to loosen your grip on this room. The dark around you, the bed beneath you, the small familiar sounds of the house settling for the night. They are growing softer, further off, the way the shore grows soft and far as a boat drifts out onto still water. You do not have to stay here. In a moment, the story will open a door, and it will be somewhere else entirely, somewhere quiet and kind, and it will take you gently by the hand and lead you through. There is nowhere to be, but wherever it carries you, let it carry you now. When you follow a story, a small and wonderful thing happens, so quietly that you may never notice it. You go somewhere. A word becomes a road, and you are walking it. A word becomes a house with a warm window, and you are standing just outside in the soft evening, looking in. A word becomes a shore, and you can almost hear the water folding over itself over and over the way water does. You travel to a far-off country, or an old kitchen, or a hillside under a wide and gentle sky. And all the while, here is the tender part. Your body has not moved at all. Your body stays exactly where it is, still and heavy and warm, sinking a little deeper into the place where you are lying. You go and you stay, both at once. There is a quiet paradox in this, and it is one of the kindest things I know. It is the traveling in the mind that lets the body finally rest. All day, your body carries you from one thing to the next, and your mind stays close, watchful, holding the reins. But now the mind slips away into the world of the story, off down that road, into that house, along that shore, and with the mind gone wandering, gently occupied, softly elsewhere, the body is left alone at last, with nothing to hold, nothing to guard, nowhere to be. And so it loosens. You may feel it if you listen, though you don't need to listen for it. The shoulders letting down, the hands unfolding, the long muscles of the legs going soft and warm and heavy. This is what happens when the watchman wanders off into a story. The gates are left open and nothing bad comes through, only rest. Notice, if you like, how the grip on your own day begins to loosen. All those small things you were still holding, the ones you carried in from the world outside, the little worries, the things left undone, the words you meant to say, they were resting in your hands without your quite knowing it. And as you slip into the world of the story, as the road and the house and the shore grow more real than the day behind you, those small things quietly loosen their hold. One by one, they fall away. Not because you pushed them away. You didn't have to. They simply let go. The way a leaf lets go of a branch in autumn, without struggle, without sound, drifting down and coming to rest. You are traveling now, softly, into somewhere else. And the further you go into the story, the further you drift from everything that pressed on you today. It is behind you. The door is closed on it. And what is in front of you is only the gentle unfolding of somewhere quiet. Somewhere you have never been, and yet somehow already know. You don't need to remember the way. You don't need to hold the map. There is nowhere to be, and no time you must arrive. Let your eyes close, if they haven't already, and let the story carry you the way a slow boat carries a passenger who has fallen asleep on the deck, moving on without any effort at all. You go, and you stay. The mind wanders, and the body rests. That is all it is. That is the whole gentle trick of it, working softly in you now, in the quiet dark. There is a soft kind of work the mind does when it listens to a story, and it is one of the most pleasant kinds of work there is. It hardly feels like work at all. As the words come, one after another, your mind takes them in and quietly makes sense of them, weaving them together into something whole, a person, a place, a small thing that happens. And then what happens next? The mind leans a little forward, the way you might lean toward a warm fire, and it follows. It follows along the gentle path of the story, and, without ever being asked to, it begins to guess. This is a thing minds love to do, so much that they do it all on their own, softly, in the background. They guess ahead. When a story says a traveler came at last to a door, some quiet part of you is already wondering what lies behind it. When a voice grows tender, some part of you already leans toward what tender thing might come. You ride the small rises of the story, the little places where something is about to happen, and then you ride the gentle falls, where it settles again into calm, up a little and down, forward a little and rest. It is a slow and easy rhythm, like the rise and fall of your own breathing, which is going slow and easy too now, all on its own. And here is the quiet gift in it. This soft guessing gives the busier parts of your mind one simple, pleasant thing to do. You know those parts. The parts that turn things over and over in the dark. The parts that keep watch, that plan, that go back to the day and pick at its loose threads. Those parts do not like to have nothing to do. When you lie down and ask them, "Please be still," they often will not, and they cast about for something to hold, and too often what they find is a worry. But a story gives them something better. It gives them one gentle thing to follow, one quiet question at a time. Only this, and then only this. Where is this road going? What will the traveler find? What will become of the little house with the warm window? And so the busy mind, the worried mind, has its small task, and it is a soft one and a kind one, and it asks nothing hard of you. It only asks that you wonder lightly what comes next. And wondering lightly is a restful thing. You may notice that you don't even need to try to follow. The following happens on its own. You could let whole stretches of the story pass by unheard, and it would not matter at all, because you are not here to remember it. You don't need to remember any of this. You are only here to be carried along, guessing gently, riding the slow rises and the gentle falls. And little by little, even that quiet work begins to soften. The guessing grows lazy. The mind leans forward a little less. The questions come slower and matter less and blur softly at their edges. The busier parts, given their one simple thing, grow tired of even that and begin at last to let go, to stop reaching, to stop planning, to simply rest the way the rest of you is resting. And that is exactly where we are going, slowly, with nowhere to be, and all the time in the world to get there. I want to tell you something tender that people who study the listening mind have noticed, and I will tell it softly, the way you tell a small secret in the dark. When you truly listen to someone tell you a story, something happens between the two of you, something you cannot see and rarely feel, and yet it is really there. Your mind begins to fall into step with theirs. The quiet patterns inside the teller, the gentle stirrings that move through a mind as it shapes a story, begin, a little at a time, to appear inside the listener too, as if the story were a bridge and something crossed over it. And now the same soft weather moves through both of you at once. They have watched this, the people who look closely at such things, and they say it is a little like two people walking the same slow path. At first the steps are their own, each going along in their own time, but walk together long enough, side by side, in no hurry, and something happens all on its own. The steps begin to match. One falls in with the other without either one deciding to, until the two of you are walking almost in time, your footfalls landing softly together on the quiet road. That is what happens between a teller and a listener. Two minds falling into step, moving together almost as one. And there is such comfort in this, more than the words themselves could ever carry, because it means that to be told a story is to be quietly, not alone. Somewhere, sometime, Someone shaped these words to be given to another. And in the listening, you meet them, their mind and your mind, moving together in the same slow rhythm, keeping the same soft time. You do not have to know who they are. You do not have to know their name or their face or when they lived or where. It does not matter. What matters is only that the path is shared, that you are walking it together, that for this little while in the dark, there are two of you here and not one. This is very old, older than any of us. Long ago, when the fire had burned low and the night pressed close around, people gathered in near, and one would speak, and the others would listen, and their minds would fall into step, all together, all as one. No one was alone in the dark. The story held them, and they held each other in the quiet way that listening holds you. And that same old comfort is here now in this very moment, reaching across all that time to find you where you lie. You are being told a story, and so you are not alone. There is a voice moving with you, keeping step with you, walking beside you down the slow path toward sleep. You don't need to do anything to keep the company. You don't need to answer or stay awake or hold up your end. The falling into step happens on its own, softly, whether you are awake to it or not. So you can let go of even this. Let the steps match without your watching them. Let the two minds move together while you drift. There is someone here in the dark with you, keeping the gentle rhythm, and there is nowhere either of you needs to be. Just two, walking slowly, in the quiet, in the same soft time. Now let me tell you about something that lives underneath all the words, something you have been resting in this whole time without knowing it. Beneath the meaning of anything that is spoken to you, there is the voice itself, not what it says, but how it sounds. Its rhythm, the slow lift and settle of it, its low melody, rising a little and falling a little, the way a hand rises and falls when it strokes a cat's warm back. There is a music in every voice, running along underneath the words, and it is carrying something all its own, something the words themselves need never say. And here is the tender thing about that music. It is far older than language. Long before there were words, before anyone had a single one to give, there were voices, warm and low, murmuring in the dark, and they meant something, and we understood. That music was the first thing we ever understood, every one of us. Before we knew what a word was, we knew what a voice was. We knew the difference between a voice that was frightened and a voice that was calm. We knew, deep in the body, that a slow, low, gentle voice meant that all was well, that we were held, that it was safe to close our eyes and let the world go on without us for a while. And you still know this. It is written so deep in you that no time could wear it away. When a voice is slow and low and warm and unhurried, some old and quiet part of you hears it and understands, the way you understood it before you had any words at all. It hears the rhythm, and it says softly, "There is no danger here." It hears the low and even melody, and it says, "You may rest now." The voice is telling your body something the words are not even trying to say. It is saying, all is well. It is saying, you are safe. It is saying, let go. So you can stop listening for the meaning now. You truly can. You don't need to follow the words anymore or gather what they mean or hold on to any of it. You have my leave to let the words blur softly into sound, into that older music underneath, and simply rest there. Let the voice wash over you the way warm water washes over you, needing nothing from you, asking nothing, only moving gently past and past and past. Let it rise and fall. Let it carry you without carrying any meaning at all. This, I think, is the oldest comfort there is, this warm, low voice in the dark, saying all is well without needing a single word to say it. It is the comfort we are made for, from the very beginning, from before we can remember. And that is where we are drifting now, back toward the very first voice, the one that met each of us at the beginning of everything, before we knew our own name, before we knew anything at all. There was a voice, low and warm and close, and it made a soft and steady sound above us. And that sound meant we were safe and that we were loved and that we could sleep. That is the voice underneath all the others. That is the voice we are always, in some quiet way, listening for. And it is very near now, in the low and gentle sound, moving softly around you in the warm dark, telling you, without any words at all, that you may rest. Let me tell you about the very beginning, the first stories any of us ever heard. Long before you knew what words were, before you could hold a single one in your mind, there was a voice above you in the dark. Perhaps you cannot remember it, and that is all right. You don't need to remember any of this. But it was there. For a small child lying down as the light goes soft, the whole world is still a very large and unknown place. And closing your eyes means letting all of it go for a while. That is a great deal of trust to ask of someone so new. And so the voice arrives. A parent, sitting close, speaking low and slow, telling of a rabbit or a moon or a little boat on a gentle sea. The child does not truly listen for the meaning. The child listens to the steadiness. There is a calm in that voice, an unhurried, rocking calm. And the wonderful thing, the quiet secret of it, is that the calm passes across. The steadiness in the voice becomes steadiness in the child. Breathing slows to match breathing. The small heart settles toward the larger one. This is how we first learn that the night is nothing to fear, not from being told so, but from feeling it, from being held inside a voice that is not afraid. And notice what arrives together in that soft hour all at once, in the same warm bundle. Language comes, the very first words, gathered gently from the sound of a loved one talking, and love comes plainly in the nearness and the patience of it. And safety comes too, the sense that the room is watched over, that someone kind is awake while you drift down. For the child, these are not separate things at all. Words and love and safety are one single feeling poured out in the low music of a story at the end of the day. That is why, ever after, a gentle voice in the dark can loosen something in us that nothing else can reach. It is speaking to a part of us that learned before memory that this sound means all is well. You carry that lesson still. It is in you now, tucked deep, older than anything you can name. When a soft voice speaks slowly in a dim room, some quiet part of you knows the shape of it and knows what it means and begins all on its own to let go. There is nowhere to be. No word here needs holding. The story is not for solving. It is only for resting inside, the way the child rested inside it all those first nights, learning without trying that darkness could be kind. So let yourself be that small one again for a little while, not to think back, only to feel it. Someone gentle is near, the voice is unhurried, and the night is being made safe around you, word by soft word. You do not have to keep your eyes open to receive it. You do not have to do anything at all. The oldest lesson is doing its quiet work, the same as it did at the very start, telling you, under all the words, that you are cared for, that the dark is only the dark, and that you may close your eyes now and let the world go, because someone is speaking and all is well. There is something else the child learns, and we never quite unlearn it, and it is this. The story comes the same way each night, the same voice, at the same hour, in the same order. The same book, perhaps, with its soft and familiar pages, the ones read so many times that every turn is known before it comes. And here is the gentle secret. The sameness is not a small thing to be improved upon. The sameness is the very heart of it. We sometimes think we long for what is new, but at the close of the day, lying down in the dark, what soothes us most is what we already know. Something in us relaxes when nothing is going to surprise us. When the next word can be felt before it arrives, the mind can loosen its watch and set down its small worries one by one. So the ritual is repeated night after night, and the repeating is a kindness. The body is a patient learner, and it notices patterns without being asked. Do a thing in the same order enough times, in the same quiet way, and the body begins to know the whole shape of it from the very first step. It learns that after the washing comes the lying down, and after the lying down comes the voice, and after the voice comes sleep. And once that order is known deep down where we do not have to think about it, the beginning of the ritual quietly promises the end of it. The first soft words become a signal, a message sent inward saying, "It is time now. You may let go soon." Until after a while the story and the sleep are almost the same thing, two halves of one gentle passage, so joined that one seems simply to pour into the other. That is what a bedtime story truly is. It is a threshold, a doorway between the daytime world with all its brightness and doing, and the other world, the soft, dark one, where we lay everything down. And a threshold is a wonderful thing to have, because crossing between such different places could be hard, could be a jolt, if there were nothing to ease the way. The ritual is that easing. It is a door that closes slowly and kindly behind you, so slowly you hardly feel it move until the noisy day is on one side and the quiet night is on the other, and you are already through. You are crossing that threshold now. You need not do anything to cross it. That is the beauty of a ritual well worn. It carries you. There is a rhythm to a voice speaking gently, a slow and even rocking, and your breath may already have begun without your asking to fall into step with it. That is the old knowing at work. The pattern is familiar to the deepest part of you, and that part has understood before your thinking mind what this rhythm always means. It means rest is coming. It means the door is easing shut. So let the sameness hold you. Let it be as predictable as it likes. That is precisely the comfort. You do not have to wonder what comes next, because what comes next is what always comes, the soft and certain thing. There is nowhere else to be, and nothing else to expect, and no threshold left to fear. The voice goes on even and unhurried, and you are already crossing gently into the quiet on the other side. Here is a quiet thing about the mind, and you may let it drift past you without holding on. The mind thinks in stories. It is how we are made. All through the day, beneath everything you do, some patient part of you is at work, taking the loose and scattered pieces of what happens and gathering them into shape. This came first, then that, and so this followed, a beginning, a middle, an end. We do it without noticing, the way we breathe without noticing. A day is not really a tidy tale while we are living it. It is a jumble, a great heap of moments, one falling upon the next, and yet by the time we speak of it, or even by the time we simply lie down and let it settle, it has somehow become a story, with an order and a sense to it. That is the mind doing what it has always done, turning the raw hours into something it can hold. And where did we learn this, every one of us? Long ago, from being told stories. Before we could shape our own lives into sense, we listened to others shaped into sense for us, and slowly, without lessons, we learned the way of it. We learned that things can have a reason, that one part leads to another, that even a hard passage can find its close and its calm. Story was the first teacher of meaning, the first quiet lesson in how to gather up a life and understand it. And so the tales we heard at bedtime were never only tales. They were showing us gently how to make our own days whole. Think of that softly as you lie here, because it is happening right now, even as I speak. The day you have just lived is being gathered up. Somewhere beneath your thinking, quietly and without any effort from you. The mind is sorting through the hours, sifting what mattered from what did not, smoothing the rough parts, setting each thing in its place. It is making your day into a story, and then it is tucking that story away, filing it down into the deep and quiet shelves of you where it will rest. This is good work, and it is kind work, and here is the best of it. You do not have to help. You are not needed for the sorting. The mind knows how to do this on its own, the way it has done every single night of your life, whether you watched over it or not. So you may set the day down entirely. You do not have to go back over it or straighten it or decide what any of it meant. That is being done for you, softly, by hands that have done it 10,000 times. Let it be filed away without you. Let the pieces of the day drift off to be sorted somewhere you need not follow. There is nowhere to be, and nothing to solve, and no accounting to make of the hours. They are being gathered gently, softened, and set down for the night, and you are free to simply lie here while it happens at rest, uninvolved, cared for by your own quiet workings. And the voice goes on, one more small story laid over all the others, asking nothing, only keeping you company while the deeper telling does its work, and the day becomes, at last, something finished and calm, a tale that has reached its soft and certain ending and been put away. Here is a curious and comforting thing, and you may simply rest in it. A voice does not have to be beside you to comfort you. We might expect that only true nearness could soothe us, only a warm presence within arm's reach in the dark. And yet it is not so. A voice can reach us from across a room, from across a house, from very far away indeed, and still it does its old and gentle work. The comfort travels in the sound itself, in the slowness and the kindness of it, and the sound will carry however far it has come to arrive soft and whole at your ear. People have known this for a long while now, for as long as voices have been sent through the air and kept in small boxes, folk have fallen asleep to them. Think of the late hour long ago and a small radio glowing faintly by the bed, some gentle program murmuring on into the night, a stranger's easy voice keeping the dark company. Think of a reader recorded, telling a story to no one and to everyone, to be heard in countless quiet rooms by countless drifting listeners, each one alone and each one, somehow, kept company. Think of all the kind voices that have come from glowing screens in the last of the evening, speaking softly to whoever is still awake and wishing to be lulled. It works. It has always worked. It soothes, even when you are quite alone, even when the one speaking is nowhere near, because the oldest comfort of all asks for so little. It asks only that you be spoken to, gently, in the dark. That is the whole of it. Not held, not watched, not even truly accompanied, only spoken to softly by a voice that means you well. Some deep and ancient part of us cannot quite tell the difference and does not care to. It hears a calm voice speaking slowly and kindly into the quiet, and it settles the way it settled at the very beginning, because that sound has only ever meant one thing, and it means it still. You are safe. You are not alone in the dark. Someone is here in the only way that matters at this hour, speaking to you. And so, lying here now, you are wrapped in that very oldest comfort. The voice you are following is not in the room with you. It has come from somewhere else, from another time and another place, carried to you across a distance you need not think about, to arrive here, soft and unhurried, at the close of your day. And yet it soothes exactly as it was always meant to. It keeps you company, exactly as such voices always have. There is nothing strange in this, and nothing missing. It is the same gentle thing it has ever been, only reaching you by a longer road. So let it. Let this voice come from far away, do the near and simple work it knows. You do not have to wonder how it found you, or where it began, or whose it is. You need only lie still and be spoken to, the way the child was spoken to, the way sleepers have been spoken to for longer than anyone remembers. A kind voice in the dark, carried gently to your ear. That is all it is. That is all it needs to be. And it is here with you now, this voice, quiet and unhurried and close, however far it has traveled to reach you. And this, what is happening right now, is that very thing. A voice you have never met, telling you something quiet in the dark, so that you might sleep. Think of it softly for just a moment, and then let the thought go. Someone you will never see sat somewhere and gathered up gentle words and set them loose into the night, hoping they would find someone lying down, someone tired, someone ready to rest. And they found you. Here you are. Here we are, together, in this small pool of quiet. It is the oldest comfort there is. A voice in the dark, offered to one listener, asking nothing in return. It came to the very first people around their fires, and it came to children half asleep in their mother's arms, and it comes to you tonight, the same as it always has. Only the way it travels has changed. Tonight, it reaches you through a small glowing rectangle beside your bed, a little light in the dark, humming its soft words to you and no one else. A different fire, the very same circle, there is something tender in that. If you let yourself feel it, not so long ago, this would have been a grandmother's voice, or an old man by the coals, or a traveler passing through. Tonight, it is this. But the shape of it is unchanged, older than any of us, older than the words themselves. Someone speaks gently, and someone rests. That is all it is. That is all it has ever been. So you have joined them now, all of them, everyone who has ever lain down in the dark and let a voice carry them off. The child on the sleeping mat, listening to the story she already knows by heart. The sailor in his narrow bunk, rocked by the sea and a low, familiar tune. The old ones and the young ones, the frightened and the weary, all of them soothed by the same simple thing across all the years, across all the miles. You belong among them tonight. You always did. You do not have to do anything with this. You do not have to hold it or remember it or thank anyone for it. It is simply here, a gift with no strings, laid down beside you in the quiet, a voice keeping you company as you drift. That is enough. That is more than enough. And it asks nothing of you now, not your attention, not your effort, not even your wakefulness. If anything, it would rather you let go. It would rather you slipped away in the middle of a sentence the way a child does, sinking down before the story ends, safe in the knowing that the voice will carry on without them, that it does not mind, that it never minds. So let it be simple, a voice you have never met and will never meet, wishing you well in the dark. Warm words traveling a long way just to reach you here, to sit beside you, to soften the edges of the night. The oldest human comfort there is arriving quietly tonight. For you, a different fire, the very same circle, the very same warmth, gathering close, and you, resting inside it now, held by something far older and far kinder than you ever needed to understand. And now, slowly, the voice begins to fade. From here, you no longer need to follow. You can let the meaning go loose. Let it slacken like a rope you have been holding, softly setting it down. There is nothing to keep track of anymore, nothing to piece together, nothing waiting at the end for you to find. You can stop listening for sense. You can simply let the sound be sound. The words matter less and less now. You do not have to catch them. You do not have to hold on to any of them. Let them slip past you, one after another, like leaves drifting down a slow stream, turning gently as they go. If one floats by and you miss it, that is all right. There will be another, and it does not matter if you miss that one too. Let the words blur. Let them lose their edges and run together into rhythm, into a low and even murmur, into something like the sea heard from very far away. That soft rising and falling, that endless patient sound that asks nothing, that means nothing, that only goes on and on, gentle and unhurried, folding over itself in the dark. You are not reading, you are not thinking, you're only here, warm and heavy, listening the way you might listen to rain on the roof, or wind moving slow through the trees, or a stream somewhere below you in the dark. Sounds you do not have to understand, sounds that ask nothing of you at all. There is nothing left to understand. Let that be a relief. All day, the mind works so hard to make sense of things, to sort and to solve and to follow the thread. And now it can stop. It can lay all of that down. There is no thread here. There is no puzzle. There is only a voice growing softer, and the quiet space around it opening wide. And there is nowhere you need to be, nowhere at all. Not tomorrow, not the next room, not the far edge of some worry. Just here, just this. Your body resting where it rests. The weight of you sinking a little deeper. The breath moving in and moving out, all on its own, needing nothing from you. Let your attention grow soft and wide. Let it stop pointing at anything, like a hand slowly opening in the dark, letting go of what it held, until the fingers simply rest, curved and empty and easy. The voice will go on for a while yet, murmuring low, and you do not need to come with it. You can stay behind, in the warmth, in the blur. You can let it move around you the way water moves around a stone, the way it always has, cool and slow and endlessly kind. Softer now, and softer still, the meaning gone loose, the words gone gentle, the sound gone smooth as water, and you drifting with nowhere to be and nothing to hold, and no need at all to understand. Just the sound, just the rhythm, just the slow and distant sea of it, carrying you a little farther out, a little deeper down, toward sleep. And as this teller grows quiet, another one begins to stir. There is a storyteller inside you. There always has been. It has been with you your whole life, patient and quiet, waiting for nights just like this one. And now, as this voice steps back, it begins very softly to wake. You see, sleep is the mind telling itself stories. When every other voice has gone quiet, when the room is dark and the day is done, the mind does not fall silent. It only turns inward and begins to tell. Dreams are the tales you spin when no one else is speaking. The oldest storyteller of all, the one who lives inside you, taking up the thread at last, and it needs nothing from you. You do not have to think them up or plan them or decide how they should go. They come on their own, the way they always have, rising up out of the deep like fish surfacing in still water, then slipping down again. Faces you half remember, places you have never been, and yet somehow know. Old feelings, soft and strange, gathering into shapes that make their own quiet sense in the night. This is the storyteller that came before all the others, before the fires, before the words, before the very first voice ever spoke in the dark. This one was already telling. Every creature that sleeps, it seems, dreams something in the sleeping. Long before anyone thought to tell a tale aloud, the sleeping mind was busy telling its own to itself in the quiet. It is the oldest teller there is, and it lives in you. So you are in good hands now, the best hands. You are being handed gently from one storyteller to another, the way a sleepy child is passed from arms to arms and never once wakes. This voice has carried you as far as it can, and now it sets you down, softly, into the keeping of the teller within, who knows you better than any voice ever could, who has every story you have ever lived folded away inside. There is nothing you must do to help it begin. Only rest, only let go. The stories will come when they come, and they will make their own way, and you can simply be carried along the way you have been carried all night. You will not have to follow these ones either. You will simply be inside them, and then, in the morning, you will hardly remember, and that is exactly as it should be. So let this voice grow quiet now. Let it fade back gently into the dark it came from. Its work is nearly done. It only wanted to bring you here to the edge of sleep and set you gently down and let the older teller take up the telling. Listen, softly. Somewhere just beneath the surface, that ancient storyteller clears its throat. It has been waiting all this while, so patient, so kind, and now it leans in close, in the warm dark behind your eyes, and it begins. Let it take you. It knows the way, and this voice, having brought you this far, steps quietly back and lets it begin. A voice, a story, and sleep. The oldest lullaby there has ever been. That is all this was in the end. That is all it needed to be. A voice in the dark, and someone resting, and the slow, soft drift into sleep. The same as it was for the very first of us. The same as it will always be. You do not need to remember any of this. Let that be the last, easiest thing. Let the words dissolve now, one by one, like small lights going out along a shore, far away and growing fainter. One light and then another and then another, winking softly into the dark. You do not have to keep them. Let them go. There is nowhere to be. There is nothing to do. There is no ending you must reach, no last word you must hear. If sleep comes before these words are done, then let it come. The story does not mind. The story will keep without you. It has always kept. It will be here, whole and waiting, long after you have gone. So there is nothing left now, nothing to hold, nothing to follow, nothing to understand. Only the warmth and the quiet and the soft weight of you sinking gently down. Let the last of the words go loose. Let them blur and fade and settle into silence, like the last soft notes of a lullaby drifting off into the dark. Rest now. You are safe. You are warm. You are exactly where you should be. Rest now. Sleep now. The voice is nearly gone. The story is nearly done. And that is just as it should be. Let go. Sleep now. Good night.